Hey, Steelers Nation, the NFL season is steadily approaching, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are stepping onto the field with moves that are sure to shift the landscape of this upcoming campaign. Over the offseason, there's been a whirlwind of strategic decisions behind-the-scenes moves that have intrigued fans and left analysts scrambling to make sense of the puzzle. But now, all the pieces are falling into place, and it's time to reveal the calculated playbook devised by Pittsburgh's brass. After sticking true to their draft philosophy for much of the spring, the Steelers finally pounced in the sixth round of the 2025 NFL Draft to add a fresh quarterback to their ranks. The timing raised eyebrows. Why pass on earlier rounds to secure the position when quarterbacks were still on the board? It was a bold move, and for a moment it felt like a gamble that might backfire. Yet this decision carried a hidden layer that few expected. The plan wasn't simply to draft any signal caller, it was to lay the groundwork for a legendary veteran's arrival behind closed doors. The rumblings were growing louder. The Steelers were making a concerted effort to bring in Aaron Rodgers. Yes, that Aaron Rodgers, the four-time MVP, Super Bowl champion, and one of the most cerebral quarterbacks in NFL history. He had been considering retirement after a storied career, but Pittsburgh offered him something irresistible: a one-year, $13.65 million contract, complete with $10 million guaranteed. The deal officially came together on June 7, and in an instant, the Steelers' quarterback question transformed from a future mystery into a high-stakes commitment. For the franchise, it was a statement of intent. They were aiming high, bringing in a renowned leader to guide their offense, and signaling to the league that Pittsburgh was far from content with the status quo. The arrival of Rodgers wasn't the only headline grabber. Round the same time, another seismic move sent shockwaves through Steelers town. The team parted ways with George Pickkins, their leading receiver from the previous year and a rising star who had burst onto the scene. After being drafted in the second round in 2022, Pickkins had dazzled fans with highlight reel plays, but he was stepping into the final year of his rookie contract, and the organization had begun to assess not just his on-field production, but the full picture, including off-field concerns that were becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. ESPN analyst Jeremy Fowler shed light on what had been swirling beneath the surface. There were reported maturity issues surrounding Pickkins. According to Fowler, those concerns were not confined to whispers in office hallways. They were well known within the locker room and front office. Team leaders reportedly realized that Pickkins and Rodgers might not mesh well, and in an effort to preserve the delicate chemistry of their locker room, they made a move that surprised many observers. On May 7th, nearly a month before the Rodgers deal was finalized, the Steelers executed a trade. They shipped Pickkins, along with a 2027 sixth-round pick, to the Dallas Cowboys. In return, Pittsburgh secured a third-round selection in 2026 and a fifth-round pick in 2027. This wasn't a straightforward roster adjustment, it was a carefully orchestrated sacrifice designed to clear the runway for Rodgers and establish balance and maturity in the receiving corps. Pickkins had also weathered financial setbacks during his tenure in Pittsburgh. Since entering the NFL, he'd been dinged with more than six figures in fines, both from the league and from the team, for infractions that raised questions about his professional development. Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin had addressed these concerns publicly on multiple occasions, noting that Pickkins understands he's got a target on his back, and that he's got to grow up in a hurry. This isn't just about one player being traded, it's about the Steelers reshaping their identity. They recognize the need for steady leadership, both on and off the field, especially with Rodgers' arrival shifting expectations and injecting a new quarterback dynamic. Having a top-tier veteran at the helm put added pressure on the rest of the offense to match that level of professionalism and consistency. With Rodgers locking in the starting quarterback duties, the Steelers have effectively reset their offensive strategy. Gone is the era built around volatile playmaking. In its place stands a fortress of disciplined, veteran-driven leadership. And to complement this transformation, the team has also brought in wide receiver DK Metcalf during the offseason. Known for his elite physicality and unwavering reliability, Metcalf represents a stark contrast to the storm of Pickens' youthful exuberance. Now, the Steelers boast a receiving corps anchored by maturity and experience. Rodgers' presence alone elevates the standard of communication, decision-making, and accountability. Every pass, every route, every locker room exchange from practice meetings to rival at the stadium is now infused with a level of gravitas rarely seen in Steelers uniforms. The vibe around the organization has shifted less about star power and more about cohesion. Less about flash and more about execution. Less about potential and more about proving. This offseason hasn't just been busy, it's been transformative. The Steelers decided to sacrifice a dynamic rookie talent, streamline the locker room atmosphere, and commit fully to a quarterback who can tie it all together. In Rodgers, they found experience and stability. In Metcalf, they secured production and professionalism, and in the picks acquired for Pickkins, they've invested in future depth. All that remains now is to see how this blueprint translates on Sundays. The pieces are in place, the message is clear, Pittsburgh is serious. They've recalibrated their identity, forged a roster built on stability and accountability, and brought in stars with a purpose. Now it's game time, and the rubber meets the road, with Rodgers leading, Metcalf contributing, and the new era taking shape. Steelers Nation has reason to believe this could be the turning point, the moment when all the off-season noise becomes the foundation for something extraordinary. While the outside world was trying to catch up with Pittsburgh's bold off-season shakeup, internally the Steelers were already several steps ahead. The front office, coaching staff, and leadership core all knew that this year couldn't be just another season of average results and post-game excuses. They needed a shift not just in personnel but in mentality, and the way to do that was to bring in players who already understood what winning at the highest level requires. Aaron Rodgers didn't come to Pittsburgh to retire quietly. He came with the fire of someone who still has something to prove after a devastating Achilles injury in the first game of his last campaign. There were many who thought Rodgers might hang up his cleats, but in typical Rodgers fashion, he opted for the unexpected. He rehabbed with intensity, trained with focus, and looked for a franchise that was hungry. He found that in the Steelers, a team that needed his leadership as much as he needed one last shot at glory. With Rodgers under center, the entire offensive system is evolving, no longer built around improvisation and youthful energy. Pittsburgh's offense is now centered on calculated execution. Routes are sharper, reads are quicker, communication is cleaner. Offensive coordinator designed schemes that not only play to Rodgers' strengths, but also require receivers and tight ends to be precise, disciplined, and on time. There's no room for freelancing. Everyone needs to know their assignment and execute with surgical precision. That's where DK Metcalf enters the picture. Known around the league for his physical dominance, Metcalf brings more than size and speed. He brings a professional attitude that resonates with Rodgers. The chemistry between the two was evident from the first team workouts. Rodgers values wideouts who run routes exactly as drawn, who fight for contested catches, and who understand situational football. Metcalf checks all those boxes, and his presence immediately raises the standard for every other pass catcher on the roster. But what makes this season particularly unique for Pittsburgh isn't just the headline moves. It's how these moves are reshaping the locker room culture. Veterans who have seen years of inconsistency are buying in. Younger players are quickly realizing that playing alongside legends means raising their own games, and the coaching staff, led by the ever-commanding presence of Mike Tomlin, is tightening the screws with the expectation that every rep in practice matters, and every snap in games is a test of accountability. Rodgers' leadership is quiet, but unmistakable. He's not a rah-rah guy screaming on the sidelines. Instead, his influence shows up in the way he handles a 2-minute drill, the way he pulls a rookie aside after a mistake, or the way he demands perfection in film study. And that kind of leadership is contagious. It spreads. Suddenly, the offensive line is holding extra meetings. The running backs are staying after practice for more blocking reps. The defense, not to be outdone, is matching the intensity with its own veteran-laden group led by T.J. Watt and Minkah Fitzpatrick. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers have started swirling in the NFL world, and fans can't stop buzzing. Could Joe Burrow be heading to the Pittsburgh Steelers? The idea alone has sparked a flurry of speculation about what this seismic move would mean for the Steelers' offense and the entire franchise. While nothing is confirmed, the possibility of Burrow donning the black and gold jersey has ignited a wave of excitement and debate among analysts and supporters alike. Joe Burrow, the Cincinnati Bengals star quarterback, has proven himself as one of the league's brightest talents. Known for his precision passing, calm under pressure, and leadership on and off the field, Burrow transformed the Bengals' offense into a legitimate contender. If Pittsburgh were to land him, it would signal a dramatic shift in their offensive philosophy and aspiration. The Steelers have struggled in recent years to find consistency at the quarterback position, rotating through various starters without truly settling on a franchise leader. Adding Burrow to their roster would instantly upgrade their passing game, giving them a legitimate weapon to build around. Burrow's ability to read defenses and extend plays could open up opportunities for the Steelers' running backs and receivers, elevating the entire unit. Moreover, Pittsburgh's traditionally run-heavy approach might evolve into a more balanced or even pass-first offense. The Steelers boast talented wide receivers and tight ends who could benefit immensely from Burrow's pinpoint accuracy and quick decision-making. His presence could also lessen the pressure on the offensive line, as his mobility and poise help mitigate pass rushes. But the transition wouldn't come without challenges. Burrow would need to adjust to a new coaching staff, system, and city, while the Steelers' offense would need to adapt to his style and strengths. Questions arise about how the team's playmakers would fit into his scheme, and whether the Steelers can provide the protection and weapons he thrived with in Cincinnati. Yet, if the Steelers manage to pull off a trade or free agency signing, the ripple effects across the AFC North and the entire league would be significant. Rival teams would have to rethink their strategies against a rejuvenated Pittsburgh squad, led by one of the NFL's most promising quarterbacks. While this scenario remains in the realm of rumor, the mere idea of Joe Burrow in Steelers colors has set social media on fire and sent fans into a frenzy. Could this be the beginning of a new era in Pittsburgh? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, the NFL offseason just got a lot more intriguing. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.